Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. It's Charlie from Learning and Development. This training session has been specifically designed for staff at the Housing Network as we look about understanding the new law that's been recently introduced and is absolutely key to the housing sector. Today we're going to talk about Awaab's law, and it is a brand new piece of legislation that came into force on the 27th of October this year, 2025. It's part of the Social Housing Regulation Act 2023, and its purpose is simple. It's very powerful too. It's to make sure that landlords fix dangerous problems in social housing within strict time limits. This law is about accountability, safety, and preventing tragedies. It affects everyone involved in housing: landlords, tenants, professionals. If you rent or manage social housing, you need to understand what these changes mean. And it changes the ways that repairs are handled as well, and ensures that dangerous issues aren't ignored or delayed. So, what is Awaab's law? The law is named after Awaab Ishak, a 2-year-old boy who tragically died in December of 2020 after prolonged exposure to damp and mold in his family's flat. And despite repeated complaints, the landlord failed to act. And worse still, they blamed the family for causing the problem. The story shocked the nation, and it really did highlight that urgent need for change. Awaab's law is designed to make sure that no family ever suffer like his did. Awaab's law applies to all registered social housing landlords in England. That includes local authorities and housing associations. Private landlords aren't yet covered, but they will be in the future. For now, the focus is just on social housing providers. The goal isn't to fix every single housing issue immediately. Instead, it sets out clear deadlines for the most dangerous problems, things like damp, mold, and hazards that could cause serious harm. It's about preventing delays that put lives at risk. And that is something that we really need to think about when it comes to our own compliance as an organisation. So let's understand the causes and risks of damp. Damp comes in different forms. Rising damp occurs when moisture travels up from the ground through the walls. Very often we will see moisture that's got through a defective damp-proof course, for example. Penetrating damp, on the other side, will come from things like external walls, perhaps a roof leak on ceilings. Penetrating damp occurs when there are defects in the building, like missing roof tiles, for example, loose flashing and leaking gutters. We need to look out for these signs and indicators because it could be that the properties that perhaps we have may have those issues, and left untreated, damp damages homes and creates really unhealthy living conditions. So let's also think about mold and how dangerous the different types can be. Now, mold is more than just unsightly. It can be life-takingly serious. Black mold very often will show itself on walls or ceilings and in areas with water damage, for example, and it can spread really quickly and really easily. It grows in places where things are humid, like bathrooms or basements, for example. Then we've got green mold. Often we'll see green mold on things like foods or fabrics. Equally, these grow in both dry and damp conditions, but they do like moisture, and it grows relatively quickly. So it's something that we need to be aware of because it can cause things like allergic reactions or infections in people. And then we've got white mold. White mold looks quite powdery or fluffy, and it can appear on things like wood or walls or carpets or furniture. And it really does thrive in those more damp, cool environments. Each type possesses risks And we must take those risks seriously because over time, they can massively impact a person's ability to live within those environments. So where does mold grow? The reality is it grows wherever there is moisture, warmth, or a food source, like wood or dust or furniture. We'll see it in places like bathrooms or kitchens or basements, particularly around windows. They're common hotspots. Where we see blocked airflow behind furniture or clothes being dried indoors, they can create those perfect conditions where mold can grow quickly and it thrives. Now, it doesn't just take a few days for it to grow. It can grow really quickly. Within the space of 24 hours, mold can grow exponentially. So, what kind of advice should we be giving our tenants around mold prevention? Because prevention is key. Opening windows, for example, using extractor fans, and trying to avoid drying clothes indoors if possible. And if there is a need there, using a dehumidifier can really help. It's really important that when we do talk to our residents, that we say to them that they need to report things, even the smallest of things, if they are worried or concerned. If they see mold or damp anywhere within their properties, it's absolutely essential that we are aware of it so that we can make sure that support is sourced and, of course, any treatment that is required or any preventative measures that can be put in place can be done. Under Awaab's law, all emergency repairs must now be investigated and completed within 24 hours. The works do not have to be carried out within that time, but it must be investigated. That is the maximum as well. The expectation is that urgent hazards will be dealt with immediately. Part of the new legislation, when damp or mould is reported, landlords now have 10 working days to investigate. They must assess the problem and its seriousness within that time frame. And also within this time, they need to find out if there's a problem and how serious it is, and look at what they can do to deal with that situation. Under the legislation, if the issue poses a serious health risk, landlords have just 5 days to make that property safe. So repairs must start rapidly. Temporary fixes may come first, but the priority is a tenant's health right away. You only have 5 working days to make that property safe. And that really is key. The threat to health is dealt with immediately. Also, under the legislation, within 3 working days of finishing the investigation, just looking into the matter, landlords must give tenants a written report. That would include what they found, what will be done, and whether or not they consider there to be a significant risk. Transparency is built into the process, and all written reports must include things like any follow-up investigations needed. Does it pose a significant risk? And how to contact the landlord if they have any concerns or worries. And finally, follow-up work must be completed within 12 weeks to stop problems from reoccurring. Repairs aren't about quick fixes. They must be thorough and they must be lasting. Documentation is vital. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen. Landlords must keep records of all communications, inspections, and repairs. This ensures accountability and it protects both the tenants and the landlords. So when we're talking about documentation, that means we're writing down everything, including access to the property. whether we were allowed or whether it was denied, all messages and communication between tenants and contractors, as well as writing everything down for transparency and accountability. So what does it mean for the tenants? For tenants, this law means that dangerous problems will be dealt with quickly. They'll receive clear guidelines and timelines that can hold landlords accountable in court if those deadlines aren't met. But of course, tenants also have their own responsibilities, reporting issues clearly and allowing access for things like repairs or for attending the property to review the situation. So what's your responsibility? Every member of staff who works within housing has a proactive duty under Awaab's law. If you see damp or mould during a visit, an inspection, or even in passing, you must report it immediately. Don't wait for the tenants to raise it. Document what you've seen, escalate it if it looks serious, and make sure, of course, that investigation and repair timelines are triggered. Residents should be kept informed and records must be maintained. Remember, safety comes first. Staff are the eyes and the ears of the organisation. We cannot have the view that it's not my responsibility or it's not my job. Everyone has a role to play in keeping people safe in their homes. Covered under Awaab's law. Right now, the focus is on damp and mould, but over the next 3 years, the law will expand to cover heating failures, electrical faults, fire risks, structural hazards, water supply problems, pest infestations, and poor hygiene facilities. 5. The priority is damp and mould hazards. By 2026, heating, electrical, fire and hygiene standards will all be included. And by 2027, all of the remaining housing safety hazards will fall under Awaab's law. So let's have a recap on those timelines. We have 10 days to investigate a case. We've got 3 days to provide a written summary of our findings. We've got 5 working days to start repairs for serious health issues. And if we have to do emergency repairs, we've got 24 hours to complete them. And that's not working hours, that's hours from the time we become aware of the issue. And in total, we've got 12 weeks to carry out that follow-up work that is necessary. And if people cannot live or it is unsuitable for them to reside in their property whilst this work is ongoing, alternative accommodation must be offered if the property cannot be made safe. So here are some final reminders. Hazards that pose a significant and immediate danger to residents must be carried out as soon as practicable, and certainly within 24 hours of reporting. We must offer a range of time slots to suit the needs of our residents. We aren't expected to make endless attempts to access. 3 is enough, but visual and written evidence is an absolute must. Leaving contact cards to let them know that we've been. The law is very clear. Safety comes first. We've come to the end of today's session, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining me as we took this opportunity to learn a little bit more about Awaab's law and the impact that that will have on us here at the Housing Network. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Further information can be provided on this topic. Now, to ensure your attendance today is registered, please complete the short knowledge check that we've attached to the email that you received this training on. Once completed, you will receive a certificate of attendance which will be uploaded to your Atlas training record. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely rest of your day.